Namaste, my fellow life inquisitors. And thank you for joining me for another Power of Interpretation with Blu Yogi. So, yesterday I spent a lot of time with my kids because mom is gone right now, Laura. And it always feels weird when I miss a day on this podcast now. I heard that to create a new habit, it takes about 26, 27 days, something like that. But man, I feel like I got this habit thing down in like 10, 11 episodes, and now I feel weird when I don't do this, alright? So I'm excited to be doing this, and today's topic is about knowing. I haven't came up with the title yet, but I've realized how people interpret their knowledge. It's like because they seen it somewhere or understand the basis of it, they believe that they know and they have knowledge of it and they have experience of it. So this is a very curious thing to me, and like I said in one of the past episodes, this isn't only for my life inquisitors, but this is also for me too, because I've been subject to this before, and I put awareness on it to make sure that I don't believe that I have knowledge of something when I only have a basic understanding of it. I hope that makes sense. So let's get into the episode. Okay, and so some of the definitions I wanted to go over today is know and knowledge. So let's just start with, what does it mean to really know something? All right, it's to be aware of thorough observation, inquiry. It's to be aware through observation, inquiry, and inquiry. Inquiry. I can't say that word. We're gonna just hear it real quick.
Inquiry.
That one, inquiry, or information. All right. Yeah, I'm not a linguistics person at all, by the way. A lot of my power of interpretation comes from me being able to observe how people take truth and how I take truth, and be able to come up with an understanding and what I call know a standing and live in standing. All right. So, but anyways, to know something is to be aware through observation, inquiry, or information. And then the second definition is have developed a relationship with someone through meeting and spending time with them, or to be familiar with or friendly with. All right, so that's how you know something. So if you don't have a thorough observation of something, or if you don't ask about it through inquiry, and then if you don't have information on it, you can't really know about it. And when I say information, I don't just mean like, hey, this is a book, okay? Just because it is a book, that doesn't mean you just all of a sudden know like the layout of it, because a lot of people mix that up too. I've given friends books before, and I'm like, no, it has a different layout, and you're gonna get a different understanding of it. Yeah, I know how books lay it out, and I just skim through it, and then I know it, then I got it. So I'm saying, like, let's put some observation on that, and
inquiry,
is the act of asking for information. So if you don't ask for information after you go through it, you really still don't know. You just have a basic understanding, okay? So inquiry is an act of asking for information. And then the second definition is an official investigation. So a lot of times when I'm not asking questions, I basically make myself ask questions, because let's go to my life, or actually with my kids. So kids nowadays, they come into this world with their own understandings. I just saw a video earlier today, and I like that. I like how she worded it. But basically, they come up with they have their own spiritual understanding, for instance. And what I mean by that, kids have less memory diluting their true nature. So when kids come out, full true nature. And then once we start putting ABC, 1, 2, 3, what are you going to be? This is good, this is bad. It starts diluting that pureness that they are, okay? And then when we become adults, a lot of adults, the purity is lost because it's like, well, I'm this, and this is right, and this is wrong. So, but if you can perform the act of asking for information, you might have a new discovery, a new aha moment, as Oprah would say. I love when she said that's like her favorite thing, aha moments, right? So, to know something, you have to be able to have a thorough observation, inquire about it, or have information about it, all right? And then it becomes like knowledge, right? So what's the definition of knowledge? Knowledge is facts, information, and skills acquired by a person through experience or education. And then it says the theoretical or practical understanding of a subject. So even with knowledge, I'm kind of surprised that it says facts. But I assume they mean facts as like more of the population knows this to be true, because I'll break down facts I guess later, but knowledge definition: facts, information, and skills acquired by a person through the experience or education. So if I'm going through this as an experience, then I have some knowledge of it. But it still is the theoretical or practical understanding of a subject. All right. So, and I think that's very important to point out, the theoretical or practical understanding of a subject. Because if you know something by theory, do you really know it? And, that's my question here. When you're experiencing something, that's what you know right now, right? But then, let's say, does that make it a fact, or does it make it the truth? All right. I think the point of this topic is, that's the title now. Is knowledge truth? Right. So, is knowledge truth, or is knowledge something that we can use to find truth? All right. So theatrical. Theoretical. Sorry, I don't know. I'm an actor. Theatrical. So I wanted to break down what theoretical meant. So it is concerned with or involved in the theory of a subject or area of study rather than its practical application. A theoretical physicist is the sentence right under it. And what's crazy about that is science is proving stuff and disproving itself all the time. Even since the beginning of science, right? We knew that the Earth was flat until one person, I think it was Galileo, right? He was like, nah, bruh, it's round. So let's think about this, right? We can have so much trust and faith in what our experience is telling us, but it doesn't mean it's true. All right? Does this make sense? I really want to make this a conversation. That's why I started all this. So please comment about this. Because it's going to keep me from making these things really, really long. Because I want to break down all of this all the time. Gary Vee, he says a lot, don't go wide, go deep, right? And it means so much to me when he says that, because to me it shows a high understanding of his awareness about himself and how other people work, and his thing is he day trades attention, right? So my thing is I can teach anybody acting and I can be anything, because I do like to go deep on one thing, because you get so much understanding of it that eventually truth starts to come out. So to know something is still a theoretical understanding of something, all right? And I hope I know it's going to like poke some people's ego, but I hope people are going, man, okay, I get that now. or I kind of vibe with that. And if you don't vibe with it or do vibe with it, I still want to hear about it, all right? So theoretical, based on or calculated through theory rather than experience or practice. And even those two definitions almost go back. You know, so that's why I said facts. I'm surprised that it says facts on there. Because the second definition of theoretical is based on or calculated through theory rather than experience or practice. But knowledge says facts, information, and skills acquired by a person through experience or education. So they're kind of contradicting themselves, right? What do you guys think? Unless I'm just consuming that wrong. The theoretical or practical understanding of a subject. And then knowledge, the second definition, awareness or familiarity gained by experience of a fact or situation. So I definitely want to make that a conversation piece, because that's what I understand theoretical as, right? It's based on a calculation through theory rather than experience or practice. But as you're going through an experience, aka developing your knowledge, you come up with theories, all right? So we come up with theories based off of our experience, aka knowledge. So they are related, but they're not exactly the same. I hope that makes sense. And I wanted to talk about, like, well, what do we do with knowledge then if it's not the truth, or if it's not, or when we come up with theories, like how will we know the difference? And I used to hear this thing a lot, like I can't remember from who I started first hearing it from, but knowledge is not power. It's like what you do with it becomes wisdom, and then that is more powerful, basically. I'm summarizing because I didn't look up the exact quote. But basically, how do you take knowledge and move it to wisdom? And let's just look up the definition of wisdom. The quality of having experience, knowledge, and good judgment. The quality of having experience, knowledge, and good judgment. So, and I'll go to the second one. The soundness of an action or decision with regard to the application of experience, knowledge, and good judgment. So it's like, I got this knowledge, I make it wisdom based off of how I can apply it to good judgment. Because when we have a theory of something, can't we base that theory off of good judgment or bad judgment, right? So you take the bad judgment out and make it into a good judgment, which is also a thin line there, but just follow me. And let's just say a good judgment is something that benefits yourself and the things outside of you, okay? If it hurts something outside of you, let's just call that bad judgment. If it hurts something in you, let's call that bad judgment. Whether you produce anger, produce jealousy, produce anxiousness, produce depression, then that's not good judgment. So if you produce hurt to someone, if you produce hurt in the emotional, intellectual, or physical way to something outside of you, then that's called bad judgment, all right? So let's just wrap it up as that. Forgot to put my phone on airplane mode. Someone called. Let me just... Okay. So we got the difference between what we can agree what is bad judgment and what is good judgment. Hopefully. Once again, let's just comment. Please keep this conversation going because I want to know what you think. All right, so phone's on airplane mode now. I got interrupted. So the last definition of wisdom is the body of knowledge and principles that develop within a specific society or period. The body of knowledge and principles that develops within a specific society or period. And the sentence down there is the traditional farming wisdom of India, because India, if you don't know like a little bit about India's history, they had the richest land for a very long time, and everybody would buy all their grains and a lot of stuff from India basically. So they had a lot of wisdom in knowing how to nurture land and develop land, and it was lost between X stuff, but that is the traditional farming wisdom of India. All right, so wisdom, because it was helping the world, and obviously it was helping them because that raised their income and their connectiveness, because they weren't worrying about survival a lot, right? So, wisdom. The quality of having experience, knowledge, and good judgment. The quality of being wise. Okay? And when I was going through these definitions, I was like, well, what do we call experience, right? So, you know, because I really believe people have different definitions of everything. So as I'm talking right now, the reason I'm going through these definitions is because I know how I understand it, but maybe the person's who's listening to this, or someone who maybe one of you guys are listening to, somebody else is going, no, I'm telling you how to experience this. But let's just find out the definition and let's put some awareness on it, and you know, let's see what we think about it. Practical contact with an observation of facts or events. It's practical contact, and I'm going to say in a mental or physical way, practical contact with an observation of facts or events. Okay? So that's the experience. And then there's a funny picture that has a knowledge, and it's a bunch of dots that's just on a piece of paper, and then experience is like the dots formulated into an actual shape that makes it into something. So you have knowledge, but when you have experience, you're taking that knowledge and you're able to now move it and shape it the way you want. So I'll put the picture on the video one. If you're just listening to it, go type in knowledge, or no, type in experience on Google, and it'll be in Google Images. You'll see what I'm saying. So as I was going through these definitions, I was like, well, what if the term able-bodied person came to my mind somehow? I can't remember how it came into my mind, but I looked up the definition of able, and because if you're able to do something, then you can say, okay, well, I can develop some experience in this, and with that experience, I can have knowledge of it, and with that knowledge, I can put good judgment on it, and then with good judgment, I can put wisdom out. All right, so being able, what is able? Having the power, skill, means, or opportunity to do something. Having the power, skills, or means, or opportunity to do something. And then the second definition is having considerable skill, proficiency, or intelligence. And I think that's very important. If you go to, I can't remember what episode number right now, it's when I broke down my military experience and my acting experience, and how my skills help develop my awareness, right? So having considerable skills, proficiency, or intelligence. But it's like, if the opportunity isn't there, then how will you be able to develop anything that we're talking about, right? And well, I looked up practice and creativity, just because for me, how can you know something if you don't practice it, right? How can you have knowledge about something if you don't practice it? And I think that is very, very important to understand, because it's like, if you've ever read a book or watched a movie once, It's different if you read that book 3 times. You're gonna pick up something new if you leave yourself open to just experiencing that book. If you watch a movie 3 times, if you leave yourself open to going, man, I don't know it specifically, you're gonna pick something up differently each time you watch it, right? So the definition for practice is the actual application or use of an idea, belief, or method as opposed to theories relating to it. And there goes that theoretical thing, right? So let's not have just theoretical knowledge about something. Let's put practice to it. And then the second definition, the customary, habitual, or expected procedure or way of doing something. Then I guess there's verb actions. That's the ones I'm looking for. Perform or exercise repeatedly or regularly in order to improve or maintain one's proficiency, right? And that's the taking action of practice. So that's the big one that I was looking for right there, because if you don't put something in practice, how can you become proficient at it, right? To perform or exercise repeatedly or regularly in order to improve or maintain one's proficiency. So when you have knowledge of something, it's just a theory until you practice it, and then you keep that proficiency up. And if you keep doing it, you'll get new experiences, and you can put new awareness on it to put good judgment on it, so that it becomes wisdom. All right? And I was just thinking about that as a topic because, once again, this is a power of interpretation. Our goal here is to raise our power of interpretation, which is to use the information, experiences, and knowledge and understanding to develop our true nature. So that's the power of interpretation. Not just the ability to interpret something, but the power of interpretation in the human being. We're able to take all of our experiences, whether we call it good or bad, and go, okay, I'm just going to use it to develop my true nature side, my oneness side, my side that can be all inclusive, my side that can not judge anything for what it is, because every human has its own free will. And the Creator, God, the universe, made nature and everything else, so we can't be judging it anyways. The worm has its own importance, even though you might think it's disgusting or nasty, right? Without worms and ants and the insects under the ground, the earth wouldn't be able to survive after about, they say, 3 to 7 years, because they help the trees and plants and stuff be able to root properly. They're digging down and they root properly. But the Creator did that, nature did that, the universe did that. Or if you're completely like, science, well, that's their job. That's what they do. So I hope this episode produced some aha moments for you guys listening. And until the next episode, namaste, and I'll talk to you guys later. All right, peace.